What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Babbles Nonsense podcast. Today, I'm joined by none other than psychic medium Chris Medina, who also happens to know a lot about astrology. He's here to explain what the planets are actually trying to teach us. You know, when they're not wrecking our relationships, jobs, and nervous systems. We're talking real astrology, not the watered down horoscopes in the back of a magazine, but deep cosmic truths, like why your moon sign runs your emotional life, how your rising sign tricks people, and why your Venus placement might explain why you're in love with someone who can't text you back. Chris brings intuition, spiritual clarity, and a little side eye to the mess we've all made under the stars. So light some sage, clutch your crystals, or your emotional support iced coffees, and let's get into it. The universe has notes, and Chris is here to read them out loud. No, I don't know about you. I know obviously you're psychic, but like, do you find that in that world that a lot of people, it kind of meshes like the astrology and the psychic ability?
Oh yeah, I love it. My first, are we recording now?
Yeah, we're recording.
Yeah. The first introduction that I had was through an astrologer, as far as like astrology, through an astrologer at the Psychic Eye, who I became really close with. And she gave me readings and did my chart and showed me how to, how it all works and stuff. And then I told her, I said, I want to start doing astrology. And she said, well, I'm going to teach you completely differently. She said, because you're not going to be able to catch on. It's just too complex. It's too technical. It's a lot of math shit, believe it or not. You
Hmm.
got to know the difference between a sextile, a trine, a conjunction, a square, an inconjunct, all this shit. I was like, I don't have time for all that. And she's like, yeah, I know. She's like, your attention span is real small, is real short. So she said, I'm going to teach you the house placements, the sign that you already know the signs, and I want you to use your psychic ability on how that works being placed in each house. And so
Okay.
I was like, okay, so just set it up. So she gave me my chart, she showed me it, and I just started reading it. And she was like, I knew this was going to work. I knew that you were going to look at this completely different than the way an astrologer looks at it. I said, yeah. I said, I don't feel like I need to know. I said, it's great to know all the mathematical stuff and what you have to do. I said, but I just want to get to the meat and bones of what this actually means.
Right.
That was my introduction, and I haven't looked back, and I use it every day in my readings. As far as like, I mean, to know the sun, the moon, and the rising sign is huge in somebody's chart.
Well, that's what so guys, we just started recording, but obviously this is Chris Medina. He's a psychic medium and he also does astrology. Would you call yourself an astrologer?
No,
Okay,
no,
just do
because
astrology.
yeah, I don't
Okay.
want to take away from anybody that's taken years. I mean, that mastered the art of astrology. I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, it changes every single day. But yeah, I would never call myself a master astrologer. I would say I dabble in astrology. So yeah, I want to
Okay.
keep that front and real.
Well, and I knew that because, you did my first reading with me like 3 years ago now, and you did bring up into it like the astrology because you were asking me like time of birth, date, and all that stuff. So like that's why I wanted to have you on because obviously you're the only person I know that knows astrology so well. And like you were saying when we first started recording, people think they know about astrology, but they really don't.
Yeah.
So like what I know about astrology is from like growing up reading 17 magazine, reading the horoscopes in the back of the magazine. So how does that like for you, what is astrology to you?
Astrology is a great tool to I'm going to be upfront to break the ice in a conversation, or if we're going to do a session. I always say that the only reason why I do astrology towards the end of everybody's session is because you have to take what I say psychically and the medium side of things for what it is. Astrology, I can give you something to look at. You can go and do your own research, put it in AI, and figure it out on your own. It's a really good tool for you to get to know yourself in a different way.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And
Yeah, that
so
makes a lot of sense.
when we talk about astrology in readings, I was just like you, 17 magazine, Cosmo, go back to the astrology page, the astrologer, the astrology, what was it, the bedside astrologer for Cosmo, read that, ripped it out of the magazine, carried that with me everywhere. But it's so much more than just the sun sign. The sun sign is obviously the sign that you're born under, the month and the day and all that.
Okay.
But then we start bringing in the moon, which has an effect on your emotions, the way that you internalize, and the things that you keep on the inside. And the rising sign is, I mean, in order to calculate the rising, you have to have the exact time of birth.
Okay.
It can't be off because it can change the whole wheel sometimes, and it could change the rising sign. Like I could put you as a Virgo rising when you're really a Libra rising, you know.
Based on 1 minute.
But yeah, based on
Or
yeah,
like, or if you had like maybe AM, PM, like backwards or something.
exactly. And that's happened to me too, where I've calculated someone's chart. I was like, it doesn't. And here's where the psychic stuff comes in. I look at somebody's information that they give me, during a reading, and they'll tell me, I was born at 12:08 p.m. And I hate to say this, but I'll be like, are you sure? And they're like, why? And I was like, because you don't look like a Scorpio rising. You look more like this or whatever. And they'll go and look at their birth certificate and be like, you were right. It's AM rather than PM. So it does have a huge effect.
No, you told me that and I remember it. I think because you gave me two, because I went back and looked at our first reading, kind of like looked at the notes on the astrology section. And I remember at the time I didn't know if I was AM or PM because my parents lost my birth certificate, but I got it. So I now know when I was born. But I remember going, I'm pretty sure it's AM. And you started doing your astrology thing. And then you did that to me. You were like, are you sure? You're like, because
Mhm.
this doesn't fit your personality. And I was like,
Yeah.
maybe it's PM.
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny once you start getting the hang of it. And then when you start using it in your everyday life, like Jay and I will go get dinner or lunch or something at a restaurant, and I'll be like, that girl has hardcore Taurus vibes, or she has to have Taurus in her chart or whatever. So you get to, you break the ice and ask them, making conversation. Well, what sign are you? And they're like, I'm a Taurus. And I look at Jay, I was like, I told you.
Well, and
Yeah.
see, I didn't know that like the sun signs were actually like the Scorpio, the Virgo. I didn't know that. So
hmm
just learned that because I was going to ask you what's the difference in like the sun sign, the moon sign, and the rising sign. And you just explained it. So you said the moon is your emotion.
Yeah, it's all the internal stuff, the
Okay.
emotions, the way that you internalize, the way that you think, the way that you feel at times. Yeah,
Okay.
the
How do
rising.
you how do you feel like, like about these horoscopes when you read them? Because they're so generic and so vague. And they're like, so for example, I'm a quote unquote Scorpio, right? But then isn't your personality, from what I've heard, not really the sun sign most of the time? Like and I think I heard this on maybe Lala's podcast. She was talking about it and she said she comes off more as something else.
Yeah,
Um, is that the rising?
it's the rising or sometimes the moon.
Okay.
And it's so funny that you bring up, the horoscope thing because I was looking at Yahoo today and I clicked because it's the default's automatically set to what sun sign we're in right now. So it was set to Cancer. So I went back to Taurus and it was saying all this shit. And I was like, who the fuck is writing this stuff? It is like couldn't be further from the, and that's Yahoo specifically. I never look at Yahoo's horoscopes because they're always so shitty. And people,
Yeah.
one can turn around and be like, "Well, you're trying to deflect." No, motherfucker, I know myself, and this is not how I am. So yeah, but yeah,
Well, do you think, I mean, who does write it? Do you think they hire an astrologer for real?
I think they hire an astrologer that can do, and it's difficult because again, they're doing a very generalized reading for that sign. And
Okay.
I'll say, I mean, that's so blanketed and so generalized that you're saying things that could possibly apply, but unless you know the actual person, you can get their birth information, it's completely different. You can't go just by the sun sign.
So like when you are giving a reading, like I know you gave me my reading, do you use that? I know you said it's to kind of break the ice, but do you use that a little bit to help with the reading?
I use it to like confirm dates or whatever,
Okay.
like I'll bring my psychic stuff in. And like I said before, I use it more as kind of like, well, you can look into it and see when it's favorable for you. Because
Okay.
astrology, you can look into it. But yeah, I like to do that as a little bit of fun, especially if like, I gave all the hardcore stuff and I kind of want to break up the end of the reading. Like if I gave, sometimes I have to give bad news. I have to get in their ass and, jerk them around a little bit. So I'll always use astrology and be like, use it as a cheeky way of being like, well, that's because of your moon. You think that way. You got a Scorpio moon. So of course you're going to internalize and not want to tell people what's going on or whatever. It just kind of breaks it up and they're able to go on their little journey on their own and, plug that in and look at it and it's beneficial to them.
And as you've been doing this astrology, like, do you feel like it's pretty accurate with people and their personalities? Or do you feel like, because, like, again, I actually had an astrologer reading through a friend. So it's kind of weird. She gave this astrologer in India something about is a certain type of astrologer. And I don't even know what she
It's a
said.
Vedic astrology.
And
Yeah.
she said like it's one of the oldest like and really good. So and she had to do it because he only speaks her language. So she had to like interpret for me. So like she was interpreting for me and it was almost like a psychic reading
hmm
but through astrology. So that's why when we first started I was like, okay, that didn't come across to me as astrology. That came across to me as like more like a psychic reading, but it was astrology.
How did you feel about the astrology aspect of it though?
So I took notes, which again, she was speaking very fast, and I didn't get a lot of the like they didn't say a lot of astrology stuff. Like they were saying stuff like, don't get married before 2029, don't go through south facing doors. So I was
Yeah.
like,
See, again, I don't want
what?
to shit on anybody's picnic or say anything negative about the way they handle their things, but I don't, I mean, you've had readings from me. I mean,
Yeah,
even if they're informal and we're just going back and forth on Instagram or I call you up and we talk or whatever, I'm completely different. I don't tell you, don't do this.
right,
Don't do
right,
that. I mean, and also too, you can't. I understand this is going to contradict the psychic stuff and the astrology. What I'm about to say here, you can't stop living your life or stop time because of X, Y, and Z. You got to keep plugging along. And also too, you don't know whether or not you're going to be challenging yourself or it's going to be a lesson that you have to overcome by taking the initiative.
right.
I have a go-to astrologer that I've been going to for like over 20 years. This bitch has known me ever since back in the day. I mean, when I had blonde and red hair, like she knows who I am and she knows how I like to work. So when we do astrology, it's different. She'll always say, "I'm going to give you all the hardcore transits that are coming in and all the negative stuff because I know you like to hear that first." It's not so I can manipulate it. It's because when it comes into real time, I'm going to be very aware of it. I'll be like, "Oh, this is what she told me during our session here, so this is how I'm going to handle it." It's not cheating and it's not manipulation. It's simply allowing me because I worry about shit. I, you
Yeah,
know, I'm doing readings with people, and then I hardly, I put myself on the back burner. So when it comes into play, I just remind myself, okay, I got to go into this mode now.
right.
I don't, yeah, to south facing doors or the feng shui shit. I mean, I understand it, and I know it's been around for years, but I don't. I think people get into it without realizing what the fuck they're doing, like astrology. Oh, I can't go do this. I'm a Libra, so I can't do that. Or, we're gonna go do a full moon ritual. How does that work for you?
Yeah,
What are you releasing and how does it apply in your chart? What if you don't have any cancer in your chart or nothing rules outside that? What do you I think people get comfortable with the idea of like, oh, I'm going to go and release, but it's more of like a defense mechanism for them than anything else. I don't believe that they're releasing shit.
right, right.
Yeah. Because then we have people don't realize we have a new moon and a full moon every fucking month.
That's what I was about to ask you because Mercury in retrograde is like a hot topic to say. Like anytime something goes wrong in your life, that's what someone says. They're like, "Oh, it's just Mercury in retrograde." Doesn't that happen a lot?
Mercury retrograde happens at least 3 to 4 times a year, and it's in different signs. And that's the one I take a little bit more
Oh,
seriously. Yeah, Mercury is all about your communications, the way that you speak. It's phone calls, it's computers, it's your car, it's electronics. So depending on what sign is there, like if it's going to be in Gemini, pay attention to what people are telling you because this could be something that's very misleading, or somebody's trying to say something they're not getting it across, or in some way, or they forget in some way. Yeah,
okay.
I'm very big on Mercury retrograde. That's the only one that I kind of like, oh, well, let's pay attention to this.
Okay. Because I know people say it all the time when, like, when stuff's just going bad in their life, it's kind of like a buzzword now. Like, oh, he's
Hmm.
a narcissist. Oh, Mercury's in retrograde.
Yeah,
So,
that explains why he's such an idiot. Yeah, no. Or, I mean, it happens to me all the time where people are like, I didn't realize that I booked a session at 1 o'clock. I have a meeting at 1 o'clock. Can I move it to 3? So
yeah.
whenever Mercury is retrograde, I know it's so weird, but I'm always prepared for it. I always kind of cushion the sessions in between so I have time to mess with it.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. And I
Mhm.
was going to ask you, so like, obviously we talk about Mercury a lot. And then I was watching the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. I don't know if you see that reality show or whatnot, but she said something about Venus returning.
Yeah, Venus return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because I guess Kelsey Musgraves wrote a song about it. And like, I'd never heard of that. What is the Venus returning thing? Because apparently people start freaking out about it when they're in their 20s.
They, but if you were to ask them
Loved your
to,
face.
yeah, if you were to ask them to explain that to you, tell me what a Venus return is and how it directly affects you. It's going to be a lot of, I don't know. So you're
Okay.
fearing something you have no idea about. And also Venus is the planet of love, but it's also associated with money as well, too. So if you're having a Venus return, depending on where it's in your chart, like I just had a Venus return and it's in Aries. So that was very beneficial to me in my third house. I had a lot of, been very blessed to be able to do what I'm doing for so long. And then to have opportunity come on top of that as well too. So it was favorable for me. But if it's not, if it would have been, if your Venus would have been in Libra, which would have been opposing this current Venus thing, then there would have been some difficulty there. But people just
Gotcha.
hear this shit. They don't know what they're talking about or what it actually means. You tell them to explain it to you. I love when people tell me, "Are you going to go do a full moon ritual?" Well, what's the moon in? Oh, it's in Cancer. Again, how does that affect you? What are you releasing? I didn't even think about that. Well, maybe you might.
Right. So speaking of full moon rituals, like I've heard about them and I've heard like but I'm loving that you're telling me this like it only applies if it's applicable to what's going on in your sign. So if I don't have any cancer in my sun, moon, or rising, then it's not going to do me any justice, is what I'm thinking I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, you're going to have cancer in at least one of your houses, but if there's no planets that are directing affecting that, you're not going to have a huge influence as if somebody like me, where my Saturn's in Cancer, my Mars is in Cancer, and it's over in my seventh house of relationships. So that's going to be big for me. The last year was all eclipses and new all this stuff. Last year was directly affecting me in all my houses and my signs.
Okay.
So last year was kind of a doozy of a little bit of a year of putting one foot in front of there and getting out of my own way. And this year for me, it's going to be a little bit more on the personal side of things too. So this
Mhm.
new moon would affect the full moon's going to affect my No, it's going to go into my first because it's going to be the full moon in Capricorn because I have that axis on my Capricorn rising, which means you shoot over to my seventh house and it's going to be in Cancer. So it's on the axis. So that directly personally affects me in a different way than it would somebody that doesn't have any planets in Cancer.
See, I would love to be inside your brain because like to me this is just like almost like you said it's very mathematical like the way you're talking it because obviously I don't do a visual podcast, it's just audio, but if y'all could like just see how he's like moving and stuff, like it is very mathematical, and I'm thinking that's exactly the visual I get in my head is like this whole mathematical equation on like a whiteboard that someone's doing.
Yeah, but if you teach yourself what the signs mean, like Taurus, Cancer, Aries, and
Hmm.
all that stuff, and then you find out what the symbolisms of the houses mean. Like the first house is going to be your rising house, it's the house of self. The second house is the house of finances. It's your own personal finances as an individual. The third house is communications and how you communicate with the people around you in your neighborhood, your everyday. It's a Gemini, so it's your lower level type. It's not the higher mind like Sag is, which is the ninth house. And then the fourth house is going to be ruled by Taurus, which is family and roots and stuff. So it's easy. Well, for me, it's easy. It's easy to understand the signs and how they work in those houses. And then the oppositions, like the polar opposite of Scorpio, is going to be Taurus.
Okay.
So you and I, again, we are polar opposites from each other, but we get along so well because we both have a very spunky sense of humor. We love a good joke. We love to talk shit there. That's why we get along so well. So opposites do attract in that way. But once you familiarize yourself with all that stuff, it just becomes second nature to you. I mean, again, I don't want to take away from a full blown astrologer, but I don't need the mathematical shit. I just need to know if it's going to be an opposition, if it's going to be a sextile, if it's going to be favorable or negative, and then I kind of take it from there.
That no, that makes sense. So, like, if we're talking about like full moon rituals again, then, and I know nothing about astrology, like I know I'm a Scorpio and that's it, then it's not going to be beneficial to me at any point until I kind of learn or at least maybe meet with an astrologer, meet with someone like you that says, should I be doing this?
Yeah, and then but you see, you're also a Scorpio, so Cancer season's a very good time for you. I think that's considered a trine in astrology because Cancer and Scorpio go together like peanut butter and jelly. So you might find yourself being a little bit more emotional or want to be a little bit more loving and free with your emotions during this time because during
Really?
Cancer season, yes.
That would explain why I cried all last weekend.
Exactly. And that would explain why again with when it comes to me and my little mood swings, I have the moon in Pisces. So Cancer hits my little moon there and it also hits my sun in Taurus. So I have all the feels.
Now, are there signs that everything lines up to the same, like Scorpio, Scorpio, Scorpio?
You're talking
Like,
about this.
can
Yeah.
everything line up to be the same sign?
Not in I mean I've seen people like one of my good friends Marissa Mendez, she's a hip hop personality. She's a triple Leo. She's got the sun, moon, and rising all in Leo, but the other planets are going to be like her Mercury could be in Virgo or it could be
Hmm.
something else. It's not always going to be Leo. It's very rare to find somebody that has all Leo placements. I don't think that's ever happened.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
now I got some questions from some friends because I told them I was going to be talking to you about astrology.
Okay.
And what can someone learn from a birth chart that they may not learn in therapy?
God, make me walk this fine line. Um,
Well,
if
first, let
you're
me just say a session with you, anyways, makes me feel like 5 years of therapy in 1 hour with a session with you. So I will just throw that out there.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
When I tell people to go do their astrology to find out a deeper version of themselves, that's because when you go to a therapist, I don't care how open you are, you're still going to be a little bit holding yourself back. Does that make sense? Kind of,
Yeah.
kind of a little bit at arm's length. And also, too, you have to understand something. I'm not going to throw therapists under the bus because I work hand in hand with a lot of them. As far as like if I'm finding somebody that's a little bit hard to reach psychically, that needs more of like a process. I'm talking about like more unloading or somebody that could be a little bit more patient with them and help them down the road a little bit. Definitely recommend going to therapy because I
Mhm.
can't hold your hand the entire way. I can give you a roadmap of what needs to be done and what you need to do, but I can't just snap my fingers and hope to God that you do it. So when I refer them to astrology and tell them, look at your moon, look where it's placed at here. This is the reason why you have issues with the mother, or this is why you have issues with family or whatever. I do that so they can learn on their own. So it's very private, it's very personal. Therapy is completely different. How many times have you gone to a therapist and they try to generalize you with the client they just read before? And
Right.
that's what I tell even my peers, like in the psychic area. You cannot generalize your readings and tell somebody the same thing you told somebody else because it doesn't apply to them. Like when somebody tells me, "Oh, I'm on my personal journey and I'm working with human design." Why don't you figure out how you fucking work first before you start figuring out what works for everybody else?
Right. And is
That's
that
what,
that was one of the questions because I've done human design too. Is human design very generalized, like because it's similar to astrology in a way? It doesn't obviously do your moons and suns and risings and stuff, but it tells you kind of like the journey you're on. But there's only what, like there's only like four.
yeah, but
um
people take that in consideration and use that as a way to tell themselves, well, this is the reason why I am the way that I am, instead of utilizing it to get themselves out of that mess or to evolve. Like you're learning, how does that work? You're learning about you through somebody else instead of you taking that time to figure out how you work. You know what's wrong with you. Having to admit it is the problem.
right. You're right.
Nobody wants to admit that I'm stuck in fear. I mean, I just read somebody a few minutes ago before we got on here, and I was telling them, like, one of the biggest things that you need to realize here is that you've gotten yourself this far. You're afraid of relationships because you've been hurt in the past, but you're not looking at it as that you at least you allowed yourself the opportunity to get involved in that relationship so you can
Right.
learn from it. Don't hold yourself up because somebody didn't know how to treat you.
Right. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense. And like with your charts, like I know you said like it changes every minute, every day. So is that something you're stuck with at birth? Like you're stuck with this and this is how it's going to go, or can it change throughout
It's
time?
going to change. What astrologers do is the only thing that stays the same is your wheel. What happens when I do a birth chart, I am getting a picture of where the planets were at the exact time of your birth. That does not change.
Okay.
After I get that snapshot, obviously the planets continue to move and move forward here. So what we start doing after we do the natal chart and I start telling you all the characteristics that you were born with, then I start applying the transits, where the planets are at now in the present time. At my time of birth, the North Node was in Scorpio. Fast forward all the way to 2025, now it's in Pisces. So that means the North Node is now transiting, which means moving through my second house of finances because my second house is Pisces. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, that
So
makes a lot of sense.
your birth chart stays the same, but then after I get that snapshot, then the universe continues to move, and then the planets start making their way through all your houses.
You know what's crazy about all this? I just had this thought come into my head. I think it's cool, like reading like history books and stuff, because all the kings and stuff back in the day, that's the first people they would call is psychics, mediums, and astrologers.
Yeah. Yeah, but now
And
now we're considered witches and we're heretics and all this other shit. I'm evil. I mean, I don't know how many times people have told me, I mean, that's the devil's work that you're doing.
mhm.
How is the devil's work when I've been
And
assisted?
me and my friend kind of argue about this going back and forth because I consider myself a Christian and like we're both reading the Bible right now. And like, I believe that it's a gift from God that you have been given.
Yeah.
And of course, she does not. So we have debates about this all the time. I'm like, I don't see how, like, obviously you can use any of your talents, singing, speaking, podcasting, psychic ability for evil. Any talents could be used for evil. It's how you use them, I feel like. And I think that
Exactly.
God has given all of us a talent. We might not have tapped into it yet and what it is, but like your talent just happens to be being able to see the future and seeing people that have passed.
How is that any different from the stories in the Bible of people being prophetic and giving readings
That's
or
what I
giving
said.
yeah giving visions? They're just considered visions. They're called prophets. Somebody told me not too long ago, in order to maybe you should change your way of putting things out there and not tell people you're psychic and tell people that you're more of a prophet. And I said that sounds more phony than calling myself a fucking psychic to say I'm a prophet. No. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to listen.
Right. No, 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 but I'm glad you said that because I said the same thing. I said, how is it any different than the prophets that predicted revelations or any of that stuff that hasn't happened yet?
And let me tell you something. Again, I don't want to come across from this whole religious side of it here, but uh, I've been backed up by God. There's been several situations that I've been involved in personally to where God was fighting for me. I could have committed suicide back in the early 2000s. In 2000, I told my guides if I wake up feeling the same way that I'm feeling right now, I'm not going to do this anymore. I've jumped over every fucking hurdle you guys have given me. Enough is enough. I need peace. Do you know that
Hmm.
I had a dream that same night I had a dream that God came down and told me to pray. The devil was telling me don't listen to him and was trying to get me to go down into the sewer to save this little boy that was crying down there. And my guide said don't talk. My God and my guide said don't talk to it. And they told me to start praying. I had another saint come to me that I don't even know who this saint was and told me that he wanted to witness what I did and he was telling me what he did when he was alive. How is that evil if people are coming to my dreams that I know nothing about here and I'm not using my ability for evil?
Right.
And
And
I
that's what
don't
I do think there are psychics that like, or maybe false psychics, kind of like false prophets out there that don't like maybe are leading people to the wrong path. But you've like in any reading that I've ever had with you, that's never been, I've never walked away feeling like that.
know.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because what ends up happening is that, again, you have to be real. I tell psychics this all the time. You're so busy wanting to be right and you want the validation of being stamped as a psychic. But what you're doing is you're giving people false hope or telling them things that are never going to come true because that's just not in their nature to be that way. What people are looking for is obviously hope through a reading, but I'm not going to give you false hope and tell you you're going to be in this amazing relationship when you can't even get your fat ass off the couch to go on a date. There's just, how is that going to work?
Yeah, he's
It
speaking
just
to me, guys.
no. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
tell somebody, that you're gonna have this great, amazing job and you're gonna fly high there when you're scared. You can't speak up for yourself.
Right.
Again, I don't want to take anybody's hope away, but I always tell people, in order to get from here to there, you have to get this roadblock out of your way, and which is your fear and insecurity, or else you are going to stay there. It's true. How can you expect any? I mean, they come to me for Stassi Schroeder readings. I want that Stassi Schroeder reading. I cannot give that to you. Nick Vial from
Yeah.
he said I want that reading too. I can't give that to you because you're not her. And this doesn't mean that she's better than you are. This is somebody that again, look at what she's been through.
Right.
She's changed her whole shit on her own.
Yep.
There was no telling that girl no. So when I was reading her, I was like, this is what's going to happen. This is not like Stassi, well, if you decide this, she's not that kind of person that sits there and be like, well, I don't know what to do.
Right.
That's not her.
No.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. So you read for Nick Vile too? Side
Yeah, I was on
note.
his show. Yeah, I was on his show.
His podcast?
Yeah, a long time ago. Like I
I
think
was
in
like,
2018 or 29. This is
I was
before you
just,
even had the kid. Oh
yeah,
no, he's
I was supposed to be,
dating
I
her.
just kind of got into him. So like, I'll have to go back and find your episode. He needs to bring you back on.
That motherfucker. Let me tell you something. And I mean this in a positive way. I met with Katie Maloney from Vanderpump, and we
Uh-huh.
were because she's on the same network as she was starting to be on
Yeah.
the network as he was. And I told her a couple years ago, we were sitting there at Granville in Studio City, and I said, that fucker has the potential to be the next Ryan Seacrest.
You
I
know
said,
what that you said that when he just did the host of the Mormon Wives, and I was thinking that I was like, he did really good hosting that.
he, he's I cannot say this because it would be a slap in the face to him. He's better than he allows himself to be at times. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But that kid is so fucking he can be so focused and just is really good at what he does there that I saw that I was telling her I was like this guy's gonna be has the potential to be the next Ryan Seacrest. Now look what he's doing. I think he's opened another studio. He's got another deal with like Hulu. I mean a
Oh,
lot
I
of
didn't know
great
that.
yeah. Yeah, instantly when I saw him, and he wasn't even about that. He was asking me during that time that I was on his show, "What do you see me doing?" I see you doing some hosting gigs and all this other shit. And no sooner did I say that, I think he hosted something immediately after that, some sort of award show, and then it just started snowballing. I'm not taking the credit for it, but when I see somebody like that, I feel the need to speak on it.
Oh, for sure. Like, and if anybody doesn't know, like Chris Medina reads for celebrities, but like there's so many podcasts you can listen. The one he's specifically referring to is the Saucy Schroeder podcast. And that's when I immediately reached out because I was like, he just like, obviously we waited to see what happened, but you didn't give her like a positive frou-frou reading on her podcast.
Yeah.
And then 2, 3 years goes by, the pandemic happens, everything that happened to her. I was like, Did anyone catch that? Chris literally said that before it happened.
So we're to jump back into astrology real quick. Stassi is a Cancer, Scorpio, Capricorn rising. I am a Taurus, Pisces, Capricorn rising. We have very similar energy in our charts. And so with her, she's a no bullshit type of person. I'm not intimidated by a lot of people. I'm not saying that she scares me, but when she's asking you a question, she wants a fucking answer. You know what I'm saying? She's not bitchy about it at all. She's just somebody that just you can tell that the wheels are turning when you're talking to her. She's paying attention. She's playing everything out in her head. So when I went over there, I looked at it as if I was getting a reading from a psychic, I'd want to hear all the shit, whether it's good or bad, and that's what I gave her. And I
Yeah.
think she respected it.
And I mean, you don't just you do that for everybody in all your readings. I
Yeah.
mean, personally. But yes, going back to astrology, is there such thing as a quote unquote bad chart, or is it just like misunderstood energy, or is it something that we can shift things, or is it completely out of our control?
Sometimes it's completely out of your control, and I explain this all the time during sessions. We've met people, and I think I've told you this. We've met people in school where you look at them and you're like, I mean, I get a lot of shit for this because people tell me, God, it's like you have no hope for people. I don't have any more hope for them than they have for themselves. And we've all looked at somebody and looked at them and be like, you are never going to change. Once a dumb fuck, always a dumb fuck. I can give them their chart and tell them this is why you're doing what you're doing here. But if you don't have the drive and the determination to change that, you're going to be stuck that way.
Right. No,
Yeah.
you're exactly right.
And again,
Um, Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, and again, when I get my readings, that's why I like the negative stuff up front. I'm not trying to manipulate it, but I want to learn. I want to evolve. I don't want to come back here and learn have to go through these same lessons again.
No, completely. I mean, honestly, like same thing. I'm bad about repeating the same thing. Like I'm trying to do better this year, but we'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see. Which signs are most compatible and which are most chaotic together?
I think, I think Scorpio and Cancer make a really good combination. I mean, I
Don't
see a
tell
lot
me
of
that.
couples that way. Yeah, Scorpio and Cancer. I think Taurus and Cancer make a good combination. I think, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, and I love my Virgos, but Virgos in relationships have to be the most challenging, and I'm probably going to get shit for that. The only reason why I say that is because it they can very much get with the most watery, the most down to earth sign or whatever, but when it comes to their love language, they're always in control of that, or they feel like they always have to go above and beyond in the relationship and not necessarily learn lessons they need to learn for themselves as far as learning how to receive love or letting people do things for them genuinely and authentically. You will always catch a Virgo saying, I go above and beyond and do this for everybody here, but I don't get anything back in return. Wrong, bitch, because you don't allow them to. You don't let them. And I've caught, I mean,
I was like, is it Lala Virgo?
yeah, but see, when it comes to her, thank God for that. But she's got the moon in Aquarius,
Okay.
where she, again, I have a difficulty with moon in Aquarius too, but she can kind of like, she can be very OCD when it comes to things, but then also, I mean, you can distract her with a good laugh or a good joke and it kind of lowers her. Of course, she's going to snap back into who she is, but I mean, yeah, she's got very hardcore Virgo placements in there. That could be challenging, but I love that girl.
Oh, I love her too. But she talks about being a Virgo all the time. She'll be like, that's just the Virgo in me on her podcast and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So I love that.
yeah.
Can astrology predict people breaking up or long-lasting love?
Yes, it
It
can.
can.
Can give you an indication of how this relationship's going to be, what the challenges are. And that's why, again, when I do couples therapy, again, this is towards the end of it. I do all this, like, you know how I work. I do all the
Yeah.
psychic up front and then do the astrology later. But I will tell them this is the reason why it's so challenging. You cannot be you can't be, let's see, a Scorpio. Oh no, that's wrong. Well, let's just play this around. You can't be a Scorpio and get together with a Gemini and expect the Gemini to be all about the feelings and the emotions. Gemini, especially Gemini men, which I've dated before, are very good at, why don't you tell me what you want rather than have me fucking guess? If you tell me what you need, I will give it to you. It's not me bitching and complaining to you. It's just I don't deal well with learning how to read emotions.
Okay.
And a Scorpio
Yeah.
is very much like, and you know this too, come find me. I'm lost down in here. I'm throwing up the breadcrumbs. I threw a rope to you so you can see where I'm at. A Gemini is going to be like, oh, there's a rope there. What the fuck's that doing there? Pick it up and move it aside. You know what I'm
So
saying?
we
They're
wouldn't
not
be good
telling.
together.
Scorpio, well, I'm going to contradict myself. Scorpio and Gemini could be good together as far as like the smarts and like the conversations they would have there, but on an emotional level, it's kind of
Hard.
yeah, it's kind of hard. A Gemini needs somebody that's going to be more. I think a Gemini and a if I'm going to be honest, I think a Gemini and a Virgo work together because they're both
Okay.
neurotic in different ways.
Do you believe that twin flames exist?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely,
Can you
100%.
see twin flames in a chart at all?
I had never seen twin flames in a chart so much as when I see it in a session like a psychic reading when I
Hmm.
pick saying that this is your forever person. And
Really?
yeah, and people don't realize sometimes it doesn't have to always just be relationships. It could be friendships. Like I
Yeah.
always tell Jay, Jay is not gay at all. He's straight as an arrow, but I always fuck with him and tell him we don't we are soulmates in a different type of way. He said, I hate when you say that. I'm like, but we're so comfortable.
No, no,
Like
no. I believe that. I have some girlfriends that I feel like they are literally like it's hard to explain. It's like your family. It's almost like you've met them for 2 minutes, but you've known them for your entire life.
and know you inside. I mean,
Right.
and Jay, people are like, don't you guys get bored with each other? When you find somebody that understands you inside and out, that has gone through, I mean, when we talk about astrology, Jay is a Cancer, Jay's a Cancer, Libra, Aquarius. So he's got some water and he's got some air there. And I always tell people during my sessions, one of the biggest things that I learned from him was that I can have an argument with somebody and not have it be the end of the friendship or relationship. Because when I get into an argument, I'm pretty sure you're the same way. It's fuck you and die. I don't want anything to do with you. Get the hell out of here. Blah blah blah. And then when Jay came around, and this is he actually helped me with my kids as well too, as far as like lowering some of that because I was always worried. I'm a Taurus. I always worried about my kids. First little sniffle I hear, we got to go to the emergency room. Blah blah blah. And he would tell me, relax.
Okay.
Do something, go walk away for a second, chill the fuck out, and then come back and we could talk about it later. So that's yeah, and then I've been practicing on my own too with my own guides coming in and telling me, you gotta practice more patience. You not be so worried about things.
Okay. Well, so I am that way, Chris, but I'm also not. Like, I'm really bad about being like, fuck you, screw you, I'm done. But then, like, I have this immense guilt, and I don't know where it's coming from in my chart or anything like that, or if it's just from previous history. Like, so I don't know if you know this because we don't talk a lot, but like, my father passed away when I was 10. Um, Oddly enough, had a psychic premonition about that. Never told you that, but like I heard a crash at the same time that he actually died in a car wreck. And then
Mhm.
my mom pulled us into the room the next day and she was like, "Hey girls." And I was like, "Daddy died, didn't he?" At 10. So that was kind of weird. Never had it happen again. But the last thing I said to my dad was, "I hate you." So like now when I get mad at people, even if it's warranted, the anger and like whatnot, I always then feel like I have to make it right, apologize, send long text. I don't know if that's a chart thing or if that's just a
That's just
weird past thing.
yeah, it's like a guilt thing, but also too, Scorpio is very deep. I always tell people that are Scorpios that you guys are the sign of life, death, transformation, but it takes for everything in you to get out of your own fucking way to evolve. Does that make sense? So
Yes, it
when
does.
in Scorpios, like, think of a scorpion. They burrow themselves into the ground. So you guys bury yourself into your emotions. You guys can kind of stay there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And guilt is a huge thing for Scorpios because they feel things so strongly. So for you to tell me that you told your dad I hate you before he
Hmm.
passed away, of course you're going to feel some type of way about that, and that could affect how you treat other relationships. What I was saying when it comes to me there is that I've been accused over and over again. You are so quick to cut people off. Actually, no, I'm not. Jay will sit here, and so will my best friend, and come and say, no, we told this idiot to cut this person out a long time ago. I like to give them a little bit of a chance, at least two chances, and that's it. That does
Well,
that make sense?
I need to start doing your rule. Two chances, that's it. I'm on 200 chances, that's it.
No, because then, like I told Lala, we'll use her as an example. She went on when she was on Vanderpump. She was telling people about this burning bridges phase that she was going through. Her and I talked about that. I said, "God damn it, Virgo, burn those bridges down to a crisp. You know they fucked you over for a reason. You went through that beef there. What makes you think in your Virgo mind that you can ever trust them the same way again?" I
Right.
would never. It takes. I like to say one time now. It takes one time just to screw me over, and I'm pretty easy.
Yeah,
You've
you
known
are.
me for years.
Yeah.
I just be straight up with me, and I'll be straight up with you. I don't go looking for trouble. I don't cause trouble. But if it comes that way, I have to let you go. And people ask me all the time, what do you do about toxic people? I don't have that shit in my life. I
That's
don't.
amazing.
Yeah.
I want to be like, I envy people like you. Me and my other friend just had a conversation about this the other day because she's the same way. If someone, like, if she goes on a date with someone and they're like, she finds out they're messing around or something, she's like, done, bye. And I'm like, why can't I do that?
Because I'm gonna throw because of the resolution and also the guilt that you felt there. If kind of like, well, I just want them, and I'll throw Virgo in there. Virgo always wants that chance to explain themselves, or that chance for that person to explain them. And I tell them ghosting you. I ended a friendship because of this. And it was this person didn't do anything to me, but this person would not listen to what was going on and would make a big deal out of things, or uh, I don't know how to say this other than just being neurotic when it comes to that kind of shit there. And I
Mm,
would I would always tell this person again, when we're talking about like letting go of things, this is the reason why you keep getting fucked over, is because you recycle the friendships again. They fuck you over. You have a little bit of downtime. You bring them back in, and it picks up there or whatever, and then you feel like a fucking idiot. Well, you are an idiot because you're entertaining this. I'm not
yeah.
gonna sit here and sugarcoat it when you know that you did something wrong.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think what makes it twice as hard as me sometimes is that I'm very self-aware. So then I'm even harder. I'm like, I'm aware this is happening, but I still can't stop it. Some people like if you're not self-aware and you're just going through the motions until someone like snaps you out of it. Maybe they have a reading with you, maybe they go see an astrologer and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, now I'm aware, now I'm going to stop." No, bitch over here is just super aware and still doing it.
Because of the way that the guilt that you feel towards that, and also to your own emotions of kind of like, well, you never know, like people always say, well, you don't want to burn bridges because you never know when you're going to need them again. I'll find somebody else, trust me. It's not worth the problem, and you got to get to, I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but it'd be
Yeah.
wise for you to get to that, to let that go, because again, I've known you for a few years now,
Mhm.
and you're somebody that I would always back up there. Again, you and I have had conversations where you've taken responsibility and accountability for the things that you've done here, so you're very aware of that, but you can afford to loosen up and get rid of a couple of people if you need to.
Oh, 1000%.
Yeah.
1000. Thank you for that. Good life advice. So, if we're talking about placements, what placements scream, quote unquote, emotional unavailable?
Um,
I'm going to say cancers.
no, can't. Actually, I love the sign of Cancer. Jay is a Cancer. My friend Tara is a Cancer. I have a lot of Cancer people in my life. They're very emotional. They want to take care of. I think the I mean, I'd have to go with like a with an air sign, like maybe
Okay.
Aquarius type energy. What's that? Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Leo could be emotionally unavailable because they kind of fear emotion. Sometimes they like to sweep it under the rug until they trip over it. They don't, Leo is the sun. You got to look at that. I mean, that's the sun is your vitality, how you shine and how bright you are. To have the sun in Leo, it usually makes for a very bright disposition, or somebody that doesn't want to go too far below the surface there. So I'd have to say Leos are, especially August Leos. I always say that early July Leos, like from the 22nd to the 31st, there are fun to play with. I mean, their teeth aren't as sharp as the late August Leos, and like to have a little bit more fun that way. So
Okay.
I'd say like Aquarius, Leo, maybe Sag at time. I find and this is not me being sexist, but I find Sagittarius women to be challenging when it comes to dealing with their emotions at times too.
All right. Can astrology or your charts help you pick like big life decisions like careers or like where to move and stuff like that? Could someone go to an astrologer and say, please help me with this big life decision?
Yeah, they can tell you, they can give you ideas of where to move from. I forgot the exact name of that, but they can tell you what regions are best for you and which ones you should avoid, which should be hardcore lessons. As far as like job, I mean, it depends on what sign. Like Scorpio rules my 10th house. The 10th house is your career house. It's your work, it's your job house. And if you were to go to an astrologer, they would say, oh, well, Chris Medina has the North Node in Scorpio conjunct Uranus up in the 10th, conjunct his midheaven, which is the 10th house here. So he came here. His profession is going to be somebody that teaches people there's no such thing as life and death, or helps people evolve. It could also be in the healthcare industry or law in some way, but it's going to be very public. It's going to be a very public figure or position that he does. It's not going to be behind the scenes.
That is so cool. I mean, when you're saying all this, like it literally sounds like when you like a psychic reading because it's telling you kind of like but it's more of a guidance, I guess.
It is because again, how is that going to work? Like if you would have told me this years ago, I've got the sun in Taurus, the moon in Pisces. People are going to turn around and say, "Well, the reason why Chris Medina is so psychic or intuitive is because of that Pisces moon." But I'm also a Taurus, which means I stay in my comfort zone. I don't like change, and with my Pisces moon, I could be a little bit of a crybaby or play the martyr at times. I can be that Virgo where I can say, I mean, because the polar opposite of Pisces is Virgo, and I could be that person that's like, "Fuck, I do all this shit." And then I have to remind myself, no, you fucking idiot. You do this because you want to, so shut up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I have to snap out of it. But if I'm not there yet to realize that, what good is it tell me all this potential that I have if I'm sitting on my own fucking hands? And that's what I tell people. Get up, take the risk or the chance.
Yeah.
Nobody knows you better than yourself. It's great to go to a therapist and go to a psychic and do all that stuff. And again, the difference between me and other psychics is like as I try to capitalize on your strengths, we talk about the weaknesses and what's holding you back there. Let's get rid of all that stuff because again, it's just a fear and insecurity. And some people are better at letting go than others. But I mean, once you tap into somebody and you start telling them, like this girl that I was reading earlier, I was like, girl, you're ready for a relationship. For somebody to hear that you've never spoken to before. I know
Hmm.
we're talking about astrology, but the psychic stuff goes with it, and I read her
Yeah.
chart too. I mean, so when you tell somebody that, and you're telling them all from a picture, and you're hitting that spot where nobody, how often, if you sat here and listened to my readings, you would hear people say 9 out of 10 times, "You are telling me things I already know, and that I just told my friend about yesterday, and stuff that I don't bring to the surface." And
Yep.
I tell them those are the best readings because I'm not telling you anything that using your own words that you didn't already know, and that's something that's so far from the truth of who you are.
And I can attest to that. Like I think at our second reading, I remember specifically you had said some phrase, I can't remember now, but you had said some phrase and I said, "Hold on." I said, "Someone literally said that the other day." And you were like, or I think I said I told a friend something or something like it was the exact same phrase. And you were like, "Yeah, because I'm only telling stuff you already know." And I was just like, because it does, like when I said earlier, it feels like walking away from 5 years of therapy from you because it's almost like you literally just opened that portal that has been shut
Yeah.
for so long that you're afraid to tell anyone else and you already know it. And it's like, like you can't hide from you in a
Yeah.
way. Like,
But the way that I look at again, this is where that therapy comes hand in hand because I will be very upfront. I have a lot of clients that are psychologists, psychiatrists. I'm talking about, from your the ones that just graduated to the people that have, I mean, I wish I could tell you some of my clients that have written books, that have been on television, that have done all these great things there. And I always tell them I would like to refer, this person to you because I feel like they need more of a process here. My guides are very much deliver the message. What they choose to do with it is totally up to them. They're asking for your insight. How they choose to handle it is totally up to them. And that's what I'll tell them. I'm giving you all this here, bringing all this stuff up. You figure out what you want to do with it.
right. Right. I agree.
Yeah.
What do you say to the people that are skeptics of, I know we've kind of flipped back and forth, but it does go hand in hand, I think, like the skeptics about the psychic ability or even the astrology when the people are like, "Oh, astrology is not real," because most people just know astrology as horoscopes.
Exactly. And that's what I tell people. Go get an actual astrology reading. Don't go look at the horoscopes and you can do your own astrology. I mean, the best way to learn is to learn it on your own. That's how I did it. Again, but I learned it differently. But I feel like, again, I would tell somebody that's a skeptic about their chart there. They're going to turn around and say, well, you can make this apply to everybody here. But I'm asking you, how does this apply to you? Tell me how you feel about what I am saying.
Right.
Yeah, and then the psychic stuff, that's why, again, like I said, the difference between me and other psychics, again, I'm not saying I'm better than them. I've been doing this ever since I was a kid.
Hmm.
I mean,
And I
it's
mean,
just,
it's no different than me like walking into a hospital and looking at labs and being like, "Oh, we need to order this, this, and this."
yeah, it just becomes second nature to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Right.
why I'm saying, like, when it comes to the stuff, especially, I mean, men all the time are so challenging when it comes to readings. And again, I will tell them, like, does this make sense or whatever? And I've gotten more male clients. I did Chris Jericho's podcast, which just did a whole flood of men coming in. And then I have like the Stallone girls that, they have a lot of male audience because of they're beautiful girls there. So
Hmm.
I have men coming in here, but they're always so hard because they're resistant to change. And then when you're getting a reading from somebody that you've never met before and you're bringing up all these personal things, they don't know how to handle it sometimes.
Because it's
So
very emotional.
yeah,
Yeah.
or I love this one. They come to me for couples therapy. I tell this to my clients all the time, and I will tell the guy, your mother really did really, really fucked you over when it comes to you dating other, dating women or getting married. Well, what do you mean? Are you talking shit about my mother? And I'm like, no. I said, your mother babied you and just in order to shut you up, just gave you your way. But how does that work in the real world with a real woman that is not your mother? They're not going to put up with that shit. And then you're going to wonder why you can't make relationships work because you're so used to hearing what you want to hear. This girl,
Right.
your mother.
Oh,
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know that you did couples readings. That would be
Oh,
very
I've gotten
interesting.
so much trouble with that shit. I'm talking about having doing a reading with them both sitting there on Zoom. Don't know that the husband's getting ready to enter, and I say, I really wish you would have called me on your own. And then the husband's listening. Oh, why? Is it going to be a bad reading? And I said, and I'm on camera just like this, so I
Yeah.
like fuck. So I'm like, oh no, no, no. I was just saying that she'd probably be a little bit more open if you guys were on your own.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
or what about you being live with Lala and Randall?
And
I mean,
you know how I am too, and it took everything in me not to be, don't fucking touch me.
but for real though, you were saying everything you could to drop the hints. Because I
Mhm.
was even picking up when I was listening, I was like, is he saying what I think he's saying?
Uh, But I'm sitting in the middle, Lala's to my left, Randall's to my right. Uh, As I'm talking, you're not seeing, because it's not a visual one, you're not seeing how close his hand is to my hand, bumping it as I'm saying things. And I'm like, and everybody, her whole crew, when I got off of there, they all looked at me and they were just like, and I was like, what
Yeah.
do you want me to do? What
Right.
do you
Well,
want me
it
to do?
because you were literally like you were being as respectful as you could to not come out and just say, "Hey, by the way, this isn't going to work."
Yeah.
Like you were. You really were.
There was another podcast that I was on, and we could talk about this after, where the person asked me, "Well, how do you see this relationship?" And I was like, "That's totally up to you." And then something happened. Yeah.
Uh-uh. Okay, okay, we'll talk about that later. But what's your biggest astrology ick that you get?
The biggest astrology ick that I get would be that whole full moon thing, the ritual
Mm.
stuff. And then when we talk about the eclipses and all that stuff, I mean, I know people are really into their sun signs. They want to post all that stuff there, but it gives me the ick when you see them do all these rituals. And I'm like, again, I know who you are, so this really wouldn't apply to you. So how does this, I mean, you can't tell somebody stuff that they don't want to hear. And I'll get this from the love and light community too. Yeah, but you can't mess with people's belief systems. You can't take their hope away because of blah blah blah. Yeah, but when they're sitting there wondering why they're stuck in the same fucking spot, then you can explain it to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I know when you give psychic readings, you're very honest. Like sometimes you ask people if they don't want to hear bad things and stuff like that. But what about the astrology side? Like, have you ever looked at someone's chart and just been like, "Oh, I don't want to tell them this."
Yeah, but then that also goes hand in hand with the psychic stuff too. So again, like I said, depending on the client, again, I'm going to be very respectful of what you want to hear and obviously what you don't want to hear. When I say I tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, it's like I give you all that stuff up front, but I'm not
Hmm.
going to go in there and tell you, oh, when you're going to die or that you shouldn't be doing this or whatever. So yeah, does that answer?
Okay. Well, I want to do some rapid fire questions. So
Okay.
just things that you can think of first off your head. So, sun sign that you would date again.
Leo,
Sun sign you wouldn't date again.
Taurus.
Who's the most misunderstood zodiac sign?
I would have to say Aries.
Aries.
Uh-huh.
Sign that gives main character energy.
Leo.
Who catches feelings after one night and who leaves before sunrise?
Pisces catches feelings in one night and oh God, I'm gonna get some shit for this. And I think Sag leaves before the sun comes up.
If Mars is in Gemini, is it fun or chaotic?
Um, it could be a little bit of both because it's an air, so it's a little bit more. I like to look at it as being a little bit more options available and not being so tight with things or being so honorary when it comes to it. Yeah,
Okay. Rising sign that always looks good.
that's a really good question. Virgo rising and Libra rising.
Okay.
It's Libra, remember, Libra's Venus, which is all about aesthetics. They are they care about how things look, the color of things, aesthetically pleasing. Virgo, it's hard. I mean, Virgo always looks, I mean, of course you have some slob Virgos, but they know how to dress from the makeup to I mean, if you see a Virgo rising people or people with hardcore Virgo placements, their makeup is impeccable. Their clothes are good. I mean, they have a very youthful look to them, very clean cut in some ways. But yeah, yeah, very good looking to look at.
I know we talked about a chaotic couple, but who is the most toxic couple pairing?
Fuck. Even though I kind of bigged us up, you and I think that a Scorpio and a Taurus could be toxic. And I
I
don't, and
believe that. I dated a Taurus. I believe that.
I'm a Taurus through and through here, and I've always been very upfront about my past and what I used to do as far as like, messing with people's heads and playing that game. And I don't think people realize everybody gives Scorpio a lot of shit and they say that it's like the worst sign of the zodiac. I think it's Taurus.
Good, because I thought, people do give Scorpios a lot of shit.
Yeah, but the thing with you guys is that you guys, I mean, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but you guys are very emotional, so it doesn't take much to kind of hurt your feelings that way. And you guys can be vindictive in different ways, but the Taurus will have the patience to fuck you all the way to the very end.
Oh, wow.
I can pick up a Taurus like nothing. Like when I see somebody, I don't have a lot of Taurus friends because again, like I said, when we can be very. My dad's a Taurus too. The difference between him and I is that he's got a Cancer rising, I have a Capricorn rising, but he's a Taurus sun and a Pisces moon, and you can only spend like with I say a Virgo. A Virgo has a 3 hour time limit, then it's time to leave. A Taurus has an hour time limit before you start getting on each other's nerves, and it's time to dip. Yeah,
What is one sign that you would trust with all your secrets?
Cancer.
Jay.
Jay.
Um,
If he was going to tell a tell-all book, it would be, I'm telling you right now, it would be some shit.
did you give him permission? Like if you pass? Not, I don't want you to pass, but like did you say, look, if I pass away, you can write a tell-all book?
Yeah, he's dying for somebody to ask about what's going on. Yeah, or how I am as a person.
What is one sign you wouldn't let near your ex?
Near my ex,
Yeah. That means you would really not have to like this sign.
Taurus,
What's one sign that you wouldn't let near your current partner?
Taurus.
Best
Taurus,
place. Sorry, go ahead.
Taurus has a way of being extreme. They're the most, I don't care what anybody says. Astrologers challenge me on this. We are the most manipulative sign in the entire zodiac.
What would
I'm
other astrologers say? They would say Scorpio?
They would say Scorpio, and they would say, "Well, we can see Taurus because of the stubbornness and this, and that." There, but when a Taurus gets upset, there's no. I mean, I don't care what water sign you have in your chart. There, Taurus can be a motherfucker. I've dealt with the men and women.
What is the best placement for money vibes?
Taurus, we're doing a lot of Taurus talk. Taurus is the moneymaker of the zodiac. I've
Oh,
seen people that have hardcore Taurus placements like their workhouse be Taurus and they're fucking killing it. Or Taurus in the second house where it's supposed to be at. No, yeah, it would be Taurus is the second house. I misspoke earlier and said Taurus was the fourth house. No, Taurus is the second house.
okay.
So yeah, so anybody that has really good placements in the second house there can be really good with money. Of course, there's going to be oppositions to that there, but Taurus is the money maker. Taurus's motto is, "Why would I go work for you when I can work for myself and make it all?"
Man, ain't that the truth? I wish I need to look. I'm gonna look at mine when we're done. What is the worst placement for communication?
Fuck, that's hard. I would say, I mean, if you're gonna, no, that could be beneficial there. Oh, the 12th house. The 12th house is the house of the subconscious. It's a Pisces house. So it's very much if you have your Mercury there or you have your sun there or your moon there, you're not really big on communicating. You're not really big on opening up there. You can be very perceptive and very aware of how other people think and how they feel there. But when it comes to you, that can be a closed book that you don't want anybody looking in on. So I would have to go with the 12th house.
Awesome. And then who or which sign is most likely to ghost and then spin the block?
Aries. I have Venus and Aries. You need a lot of mental stimulation in a relationship with an Aries because I have Venus and Aries, we get bored very easily. I mean, again, I'm very transparent about my past. I don't think there was one relationship that I didn't cheat on.
Really?
Oh,
But you're
yeah.
such a sweet man.
You wouldn't have liked me back then. You
I probably
wouldn't.
would have because I like toxic people for some reason.
Oh, I was pretty bad.
Well, I already know the answer to this, but we'll do it anyways. Go to comfort sign in your life.
Cancer.
Sign that talks the most smack but cries in the shower.
Fucking Pisces. Pisces men. Pisces men. I always tell them during a reading when they send me a picture of the husband or they don't send anything at all, and I'm looking out. People don't understand when I say what I mean by this, but when I'm seeing your husband or your partner through your eyes, I will always ask them, is this person a Pisces? Because this fucker likes to dish it but cannot take it. That is a Pisces.
It's so funny when you say things because it makes me have flashbacks to our readings, and you did the same thing. You were like, "Is this person a so and so?"
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Second nature to me, I'm telling you.
Who gives gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss energy?
Fuck. I'm gonna go with Sag.
Okay, and your personal astrology red flag.
Oh my God. That would to me that would be like the moon. Like anybody that would have like a like a hardcore Virgo moon or a Virgo sun.
Okay.
Something like that there because I know I'll know what I'll get out of that and that's gonna be I'm just gonna be fine. That's gonna be a violent relationship because I'll want to smack the shit out of them. Because the neurotic and the need to kind of nitpick and you'll always know a Virgo because they'll be like, oh, that's good, but have you ever thought about doing this? Have you ever thought about shutting your fucking mouth? How about that?
Which sign is most likely to be a narcissist?
Fucking it's gonna be, oh my God, I'm throwing myself under the bus. People are gonna be like, we told you he was a narcissist. Taurus. Taurus. But I've outgrown that. That's why when I look at people and I like Taurus energy, you're not gonna suck me back into that. You can't. Yeah, I
Well, how
refuse.
did you overcome it?
My guides.
Okay.
My guides, yeah, they had told me this is the time. Girl, I'm telling you right now, being a tourist, I used to do things in front of people's faces that I always say the people don't realize what you're doing, even if it's in front of their face. I'd go to the market, and I know this is bad here. I'm just gonna throw it out there, and I would have stuff that I was stealing while I was talking to the cashier, moving it in the bottom of my hands, and be like, "Oh my God, Baba!" And before you know it, you're out the door.
You know what though? So I've done like some toxic men podcasts with like females, and someone told me that I need to have a male on there that used to be like, because, and I've tried to do that with my male friends, but they don't know what toxic men are because I'm very fortunate to have like male friends that are not toxic. That should be our next podcast. You need to give women advice and what to look for in these toxic men.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. I'm going to put one more thing. I know we're almost out of time here, but I want to say this here. I've been in toxic friendships and relationships, and I've also been friends with girls because again, I guess I'm very gay. You obviously tell, but I'm also very masculine in other areas of my life. So I always had a good majority of male friends and female friends. And when you combine those two and you have a girl that's dating one of your male friends and you know the male's cheating on her, because I mean, I would drive up to Apple Valley with my tourist friend who was a guy who was dating my cousin. He'd be fucking some girl over there, and then we'd come back, and then he'd be all lovey-dovey with her, and I'd be caught in the middle of all that shit. So I know toxic relationships, like yeah, like the back of my
Yeah.
hand. Yeah,
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for doing this. This has been so much fun, and I've learned so much. Now I got to go look up my signs with ChatGPT.
yeah. Well, I will send me your birth information. I'll send you your chart, and then we can look at it together.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm going to stop the recording real quick because then I got to say something to you. But thank you so much. And guys, tell everybody where they can find you and get a reading.
Yeah, chrismedina.guide. And if you want to look at my stuff and see what I'm all about, go to at psychic Chris M. That's the only tag, that name tag that I have is at psychic Chris M. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yes. And guys, he will never slide in your DMs at all. Never.
Never. I do not solicit readings online at all. If you're talking about readings over social media, I will refer you to my email.
Yes.